This immediately has an impact on the Sun Devils. We're talking Jedd Fisch leaving the Arizona Wildcats for the Washington Huskies. Let's be real. Like, the implications are massive for Arizona State, aside from things going on with the Wildcats and that administration and that athletic department. For Arizona State, immediately you're talking, I'm not even talking about the portal yet, but in-state recruiting. In-state recruiting, to know that Dilly means business. That when you have a guy that wants to be at Arizona State, it means something special. There are going to be players that were committed to the Arizona Wildcats to stay in the Valley that now don't know who is going to be that head coach, that maybe reconsider Arizona State. And we're not talking just the class of 2024. Mind you, there still is signing day here in just a few weeks, I believe. We're talking 2025, 2026. Arizona State and Kenny Dillingham have now taken an advantage over the Arizona Wildcats and whoever is going to be that head coach because they're here. Because they're here, they want to be here, and you can kind of start to see the trajectory that Arizona State and Kenny Dillingham are trying to be on. I think in-state recruiting is going to skyrocket for the Arizona State Sun Devils now more than ever with Jedd Fisch out of Tucson.
Yeah, he was already like starting to really sink his teeth into the state, and it was probably a little bit difficult for him to have another in-state person come in and have a really good program. But I think he's going to do great. I think he's be able to sink his teeth in and get a couple more recruits for sure.
And then, I mean, look, you're talking about the portal as well, right? The transfer portal as it relates to the number of starters that were returning for the Arizona Wildcats. 18 of 22, I believe. We know Jonah Coleman hitting the portal. He tweeted actually right before the show that he loves Tucson forever. He tweeted that, but clearly he doesn't love them enough to stick around. I think as it relates to Arizona State going after guys in the portal, if you can go get more guys that want to stay in the Valley, that now have a newfound hatred for the Arizona Wildcats and that program, especially in the trenches, man, that's your opportunity. That's your opportunity right there.
Yeah, without a doubt, there's a huge opportunity ahead of them. And I think that if anybody is prepared for it, it's somebody who's already been preaching like, hey, community, loyalty, like I'm going to stick around here. And I've been preaching that since before all of this happened. And now you can see what happens to a football program that if you commit to them and they're not really telling you the truth, and by them, I either mean the head coach, not necessarily the entire university, because I'm sure they were a little bamboozled as well. But you can see how all of this can go south very quickly if I'm not a man of my word. So that's why I'm proving to you that I am. Here's what I'm going to do for you, your family, your future, your success on field. And if 3 years from now you decide that this still isn't the place for you, I'm going to wish you well. I'm going to shake your hand and I'm going to tell you, hey, this guy was great. Go out, do great things. And I'll be one of your biggest advocates. And in an era now where it's all about these personal relationships with players, it's all about being able to have somebody who is maybe out there in the transfer portal, out there high in the recruiting rankings, who's getting wined and dined and having money thrown at them from left and from right. You got to bring the money for sure. And that's something that ASU is definitely working on. But then if you're able to give them stability, you're able to give them honesty, you're able to give them something real. Yeah. As we continue to progress down this line in college football, that's going to mean something, especially when you see programs like U of A, like if for some reason, like doesn't matter who they hire next year, they just kind of plummet or they get half their amount of wins or the program just never hits that same heights that they did from this past season. That's just going to prove to show that you can get screwed over and make every single right decision for you just because a head coach wants to go somewhere else. Yeah. And if that happens, you have no control over it.
It's again, Arizona State, without even having to move a muscle yesterday, jumped in such an advantageous position in the state of Arizona. Transfer portal, recruiting, locally and nationally, fan bases around the Valley that we've talked about this months ago. If you want this rivalry to be something, yes, both these programs have to be elite, but you also have to raise this conversation, right? If you're in an Arizona home, whether you're a transplant or you're somebody that was born and raised here, You got to spark the conversation of Arizona or Arizona State. And Ralph nailed it when he was on one of the ASU football postgame shows, that you have to make this the question of the Valley, the same way that nationally, hey, Jordan or Braun, right? Brady Montana. National questions that even if you don't like football, you don't like basketball, you got an answer, right? So locally in the Valley, now is the time to press the gas, okay? Press the gas on that question for everybody locally. Hey, Arizona State or Arizona, right? And you're going to get people that say, hey, Arizona. And now is the time that you could be like, hey, guess what? Their coach just bounced. Like their players are going to hit the portal. Their athletic department misplaced $200-something million. They couldn't get an extension on a 10-win football coach. Like right now, that program is in shambles.